Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans! I'm Kelly One Shot, and this is the Post-Crisis Podcast. And today, we're going to cover The Flash number 75 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Howard Porter. Okay, so we are currently in the Flash Year 1 storyline, where we're kind of like re-going through the Flash's Year 1 adventures, but things have changed and altered. It's not the original one we saw back in the day. It's not an origin that we saw later on. It's not even the New 52 origin. This is a newer origin that combines various elements of Flash origins throughout the years. We're talking Barry Allen Flash, and in this story, we actually see that Barry travels to the future. He meets an older version of his future self, who lives in a world where the Turtle has taken over as the king, and he has this shell over Central City. So then, basically, that Flash warns his younger self, our current Barry, that this future is inevitable, and that there's a loop that can't be broken, and he warns him of this situation that's going to happen, where the Turtle will eventually take over Central City. So, after that, Flash is sent back to his current timeline, which is Year 1 of the Flash, and he actually runs into the younger version of the Turtle, and he uses his Flash abilities, takes down the younger version of the Turtle, and then as Barry Allen, he goes to Iron Heights and talks to the Turtle. The Turtle knows that Barry is the Flash due to the Still Force and the Speed Force, like the signatures of energy that they give off. The two can pick up on those energies, so the young Turtle knows that it's Barry Allen. Well, this eventually leads to the Turtle King from the future coming back to our time because he wants to extend his shell of the Still Force around Central City to both the future and the past, connecting the two in this weird kind of way where the Turtle has total dominance over Central City and over throughout all of time and space, essentially, and he eventually wants to suck and drain all of the Flash's energy and Speed Force so he can keep this process going and essentially just rule and control Central City for all of time to come. So basically, we start this particular issue off, the Flash number 75, which is a big, huge anniversary issue, so there's a lot to cover here. So we start off where the Flash, he's just got his new suit. He kind of formed it because in the beginning he was wearing like this thing that he kind of like made together, and he was wearing jeans and a hoodie and like goggles and boots and gloves. But now he's got his Flash suit. He's battling two turtles from different timelines, the future Turtle and his younger self, and like I said, the Turtle is using his Still Force energy to try to take down the Flash, and this is a great battle that happens throughout Central City, and it's a really great. The artwork by Howard Porter is amazing throughout the entire issue, and I really love his work. We also see that as this battle is happening, Iris isn't just sitting there and dealing with this. She's trying to work on destroying the shell that is in our current day Central City, because the Turtle King also brought back his soldiers from the future, and they are oppressing the people of Central City in the current day. And they say that they're going to sacrifice those people to help construct the final shell here and to finish it off. And the people are like, you're lucky we're in these chains here. But eventually, like I said, Iris starts working her way through, and she decides to smash the computer system that controls the Still Force energy that's being projected. And that ultimately leads to the people of Central City becoming free. Their chains are broken, and we actually see this young girl here, who we saw in several issues back. She's an Asian girl with purple hair, which has got to be Avery Ho. I suspected that back in the past, and I think that we confirmed this throughout the issue, though it doesn't exactly happen. Either way, so the Turtle and Flash are fighting it out, and Barry says that they're nothing alike, that they talked in Central City, and that he realized that they're nothing alike. He just says that you're a small man who blames everyone for his problems. That's what the Flash says to the Turtle. But Flash says, I'm not afraid anymore. He eventually realizes that he needs to break this loop. He can't trust what the future Flash said to him, because the future Flash lived a life that created this loop where eventually he would die at the hands of Turtle, so Flash's life would just be on this constant loop of going to the future, seeing the Turtle King, and then coming back in time, the Turtle King eventually taking over, and it would just be this loop where Flash got nowhere. So Flash is like, yo, I have to fight back. And now because the people of Central City are free, they said, you know, the Flash has done so much for Central City, we can't let him fight alone. We need to tear this down. So the people are fighting back. the people of Central City. Iris is fighting back, and she's actually dealing with the younger turtle while the Flash takes on the older turtle, and they're kind of all just battling it out here, and the artwork is pretty amazing. So Flash decides to eventually run head on into the blast from the turtle, but when this happens, he gets hit by the turtle blast, and he kind of sees like his whole life flashing in front of his face. He sees the night that his mother was killed, how he stood there powerless, and that even with this gift of speed that he had, he was still stuck in this moment. He was trapped, he was afraid, and he was defeated. And he says that that night with his mom, that he talked in the attic about the heroes, how heroes never let fear get them down. Well, right now, he needs to be that hero. And he says, you know, he looks over and he sees Iris, and he's like, Iris is my hero. Iris works every day so people get the truth, so everyone's story is told. Having her in my life shows him that there could be a better tomorrow. And he says, he would move time and space for Iris. And in this, the Flash realizes his true power, and that he needs to save the world today and not run from it like the future Flash, and he not needs to save himself, but he needs to try here and break this loop, like I said. So the Flash becomes charged with energy, because he said that was the mistake of his older self. I need to run directly into fear, ignite the speed inside me today, and find the one thing that Turtle's power could never take from him: hope. And we actually see him charged up. We see all these different memories throughout Barry's life, and he's charged up and he's full of energy. The Turtle's pissed off. He's like, this is impossible. Your speed should be mine. And they kind of planned everything, so this goes against his plan. The Flash actually says, yo, my gamble paid off. My speed counteracted the powers that were once connected, just like the first time that him and the Turtle fought. So then the Flash kind of beats up the younger turtle. He grabs Iris. He runs her out of danger here for a second, and he says that his sudden burst of speeds breaks the turtle's shell and disconnecting it from the future, but the turtle still has his powers. And when he first got his speed, he was so scared that he would shake. But he's never been more afraid than he is right now. But he's got to use that fear, embrace those shakes until they turn into vibrations and hit frequencies that no one has ever experienced, and dart in between the molecules. The lightning will explode through the window, and it granted him speed, he says. And then he actually says that as he's running fast and breaking through the speed force, or the still force of Turtle, he actually shoots his lightning energy all throughout the world. And that everyone kind of becomes connected through all the living things, become connected through the Speed Force power, because Barry is just running at such an intense speed, and he says that he can feel everything as he blasts through insane images. So we see Barry running through the Speed Force, and he sees various different flashes. They don't really fully show the images. They look like they have new different costumes here, like there's a Wally West here thing that he's running there, and Barry actually mentions that as he's running through there, it shows him something, a part of something bigger, that he's something that started well before him and it will outlive him, and that the lightning is everywhere, and that he no longer fears the future. He says that in fact he can speed up all of time and space for just a few seconds and take everyone with him into the future, except for the turtle, trapping the turtle's powers in the past. And through this, Barry actually, like he said, he connects everybody through the Speed Force, and he takes them briefly into the future by traveling through time, trapping the future turtle in the past there for a moment, and the Barry, the older Flash who came back from the future, is also here in this slight past. And so they kind of become a race, because the paradox is broken and the loop has been broken, because Barry kind of just like trapped him in this pocket, essentially. And he says, just like the first time he traveled through time, hurling through space, the nothingness outside of space and time, he's going so fast that he's terrified of what's going to happen if he stops. But then he remembers what the future Flash said to him in the first issue of this, is that you need to slide into it. Then we actually see as the Flash slides into the present day, he actually took down the turtle and he stopped this future from happening. He broke the loop, and he did take with him the younger turtle, so that way they can keep him and they can lock him up in jail and detain him and stop this alternate future from ever happening. And they arrest the turtle, and Iris is kind of surprised that Barry was there, and Barry stood up, and that Barry arrests the turtle and brings him into custody. And she says that you know, like she shows that she's really into Barry. We then actually see the next day that Central City throws a huge celebration for the Flash. It's the Flash Day. This is probably the first Flash Day, and then we see different headlines where the Flash takes down Captain Cold, he rebuilds Central City, and they ask, who is the Flash? Then we actually see Barry in his lab, and he's kind of going over everything that happened and talking about how he raced back to his lab, but the Flash from the future was gone, and the time loop is broken. He says, the future is what I can make of it. I'm still haunted by the past of my mother's death, and my father's unjustly jailing behind bars, and that he still has doubts and fears, but he'll always be the hero that he needs to be. So Barry actually says that the future Flash was a great hero, but that he did falter too. That could be Barry if he ever loses hope. So he can't let himself become the future Flash, even as great as he was. And then he says that he just feels like he was missing something. It's not the costume, it's not the powers. Even now he looks out into the sky and he can see that a storm is coming and that it's going to rain. And then he actually turns around and Iris is there waiting for him. She's there to kind of have a date with Barry, and the two of them are really hitting it off and their relationship is really starting to kick off. But then we hear a voice calling for Iris from outside, and Iris goes out there and she's talking to these two people. We then realize, and this is a unique thing to this new origin of the Flash, because it seems like now that they have new characters, the changes have rippled forward and backwards through time. So basically I say that because in this new version of the Flash's origin, which is technically going to be the DC Rebirth's origin of year one, Iris comes into the room with a redheaded Wally West and a younger Wallace West, the New 52 one there, who is African American. And she says that these are her two nephews, Wally and Wallace, and that they're visiting her so she can take them to the Flash parade. She says that Wally is the president of the Flash fan club in his hometown, and so Barry's like, oh, Wally, Wallace. She's like, yeah, it's a long story. So they're kind of already retconning all of these new characters into the old story and like force fitting them in to create this one consistent Flash history. And Iris then actually, which I actually enjoy a lot, Iris actually says that she's got to take Wallace somewhere and wonders if Barry can watch Wally. So the two of them kind of talk. Wally talks about being a fan and he loves the Flash so much, and he's read Iris's interview 1,000,000 times, and that he's like something out of a comic book. Barry kind of is like, yeah, you know, that the Flash would inspires people, and I'm sure if he heard about this, he would it would probably make his whole year. So Barry actually is like really cool with Wally at this point, a younger Wally West, and he's like, oh, you know, me and the Flash are friends. And he says, no way. And then the two of them kind of walk up to the window together, and we actually know that this is the moment that then another bolt of lightning is going to crack through that lab window, strike Wally the same way it struck Barry, and Wally's about to get his powers. Then Barry's actually talking about the lightning that changed his life forever, and then we actually see an image, which is, it's kind of confusing a little bit because we're kind of skipping around throughout all the story. Like I said, there's a little retcons going on here. There's characters that aren't yet in Rebirth, and yet we know them as a part of the Flash family. But as the Flash talks about the lightning and that it changed his life, and we saw that the young Wally was getting struck, we then actually see an image where Barry is running as the Flash. We see Wallace West as Kid Flash. We see the DC Rebirth Wally West in his red suit. We see Max Mercury, Jay Garrick. We see Jesse Quick, Johnny Quick. We see Avery Ho, the Flash of China. We see Bart Allen, and we actually see Jenny Agna too, which is Barry's granddaughter. I think it's either Dawn's. Yeah, Jenny Agna is Dawn Allen's daughter with some alien from the future. But we'll get into that later. So that actually ends this book. It's kind of cool because we see that we are going to build up to the Flash family again, and that the Flash family we get next time is going to be bigger and grander, and it's going to have all these new characters like your Wallace West, and it's going to have your Avery Hose in there, but then we're also going to include the old members that we know and love, like Max Mercury, who hasn't been around forever, Jesse Quick, Johnny Quick, and Jay Garrick, who we haven't seen since the Button well back, and like I think that was Flash 24. That was like 50 issues ago. That's crazy. I think that was even 2 years ago at this point. Either way, that kind of ends the Flash Year 1 arc, because this grand book is like 37 pages or something like that, minus the covers and all that stuff, so it's like 35. Either way, we actually then return to the present day in DC Rebirth's present timeline, where we actually realize that the Flash is being told a story, and he was showed images of his first year from someone who calls himself Steadfast, who is a man cloaked in green with like a green turtle shell emblem necklace, and he is the new bearer of the Still Force. He possesses the Still Force powers, and he tells Barry that he showed Barry his true past, and that time on this world has been manipulated. Which is weird to me because, like, we all know that some of this stuff is new and it's being retconned in, but we also know that DC Rebirth brought about the time manipulation. We know that in New 52 with the Flashpoint paradox, that kind of changed a lot of things. So there was elements that were erased from DC Comics timeline, and this is DC Comics' attempt to like put all the pieces back together with the new stuff that they've added and kind of like course correct and do a new consistent consolidated timeline here. So this Steadfast character tells Barry about all of this, and he says that his name is Deadfast and that he's the new avatar of the Still Force, and he says that he wanted to give the Flash a glimpse also of his own past so he'll understand why he's showing the Flash these visions and that he can forever choose a life of solitude. We actually see in the present day Barry's working on rebuilding the Flash Museum because it was destroyed. It's hard to think that the Force Quest and the stuff with the Trickster happened. It feels like it was like 3 months ago at this point, because this year one story did kind of like take us out of the current storyline that we were going on with the Force Quest after the Speed Force barrier was broken. To me, the Flash storyline has kind of been like all over the place lately. I feel like the story throughout Rebirth was going really good, and then we did Flash War, and that was awesome. And then that kind of ended with Zoom having a Flash costume and Speed Force powers, running off, and we don't know where he is yet. We know that Godspeed is working with some mysterious figure who I low-key think that it's you remember the evil Wally West from like back in the day, who I think he was actually calling himself Wallace West, but that was before New 52 Wallace West Kid Flash character existed. But there was that evil like Dark Flash, remember him? I think that's honestly some kind of paradox version of him working with Godspeed. I don't know. We're waiting for that Wally West 6-part series to come out sometime down the road. Maybe we'll get answers there. But we see that the Flash is rebuilding the Flash Museum, and then we see that Steadfast is telling us that when the Force Barrier broke, he was cursed with the Still Force and the knowledge of time that comes with it. And he says in the past the Still Force was used for selfish gain, but is now his life's mission to change that. And he took his time to cross a great distance also he could bring this gift of memory to the Flash. He wanted Flash to know about this new retcon, essentially, because the way time works in DC Comics typically is when something happens that alters time, it changes forward and backwards. It kind of ripples throughout all of time and changes things up a little bit. So Steadfast tells Barry that recently your speed has slowed down, yes? So in order for Barry to save the multiverse, he'll need to be at his very best. And so he wants to kind of teach Barry here in this moment. And then we learned that Steadfast tells Barry about the new forces and how they're all connected. And he told Barry about his role in the future that's going to come here. And he says that when they're done, he still needs to take some time and patience. If he's going to move forward and correct his mistakes, he needs to make amends. He has a lot of people he's let down. It shows Wally West. And he has a lot of problems that he's run away from. And it shows Kid Flash, Wallace West, and then it actually oddly shows Barry hanging out with Wally, Wallace, Avery Ho, and Bart Allen, which is bothering me because since Bart came back at the end of Flash War, he hasn't actually interacted with Wally West yet, Wallace, or any of the Flash family. He hasn't told Barry he's back yet. He's just been working with Young Justice, and they have their own problems going on. They were in Gem World, and they're doing all this other crazy stuff. Tim Drake, Connor Kent. DC Comics is putting a lot of retcons going on right now. There's a lot of different story arcs going on right now with the Year of the Villain. You got Leviathan is another major event that's happening, and some of these events connect together. Doomsday Clock is technically still ongoing, but we do know that Doomsday Clock will take place in the future. Either way, this kind of just like wraps up this year one story where we actually go to the Flash Museum, where Commander Cold walks into the Flash Museum and Barry's actually rebuilding all of it, and the two of them kind of connect a little bit, and Barry tells them that they know that they have challenges that they'll face, so they show Godspeed and they show like an outline of whoever Godspeed is working with. Like I said, I think it's that evil Flash Wally West character, and Barry says that he needs to get new allies, and so we see some of the people who have the Strength Force and the is it the Mind Force, the Sage Force rather. So he's got those new friends, and he says that he needs to find ways to work with his enemies. And then we actually see Zoom wearing the Flash suit. We then see that there's going to be good days and bad days. So we see the outline of someone who might be the Red Death, or maybe he's one of the Black Flashes, or even someone evil. Maybe it's not Savitar, because in the comic books we use the character design of the comic book Savitar and not that stuff from the Flash TV show. And he says that Barry's going to have tests of hope, and that is the legacy that they build. There's always going to be darkness in his path, but he can feel himself racing towards the hardest time in his life, but he'll never give up. No matter what the future has for him, he always has hope. And that kind of ends, like I said, the year one storyline here. But that's not where this video ends, and that's not where this comic book ends, because we also have like 10 pages left where we get a story about the Rogues. We find out what happened to Commander Cold after Cold Day in Hell. So now we're really starting to pick up forward again, I feel like, because I feel like I was like, why are we going back and covering year one of the Flash? And I guess that was what the Force Quest was about, to show Barry his true past. But it's a new retcon past, so that way he can prepare himself for the war to come, or some great battle to come. So we actually see where Commander Cold, he tells us a little bit about his backstory, that he was with the Rogues, and he had Golden Glider, and he had the Weather Wizard and Mirror Master and Heat Wave, and they all kind of worked together. But then he was arrested, he was in Iron Heights, we did everything that happened in Cold Days in Hell, and then he was actually sent to join the Suicide Squad. And in this we see Captain Cold rather, looking really cool. I love this new Leonard Snart design. He's got like this old man beard here, and he's all beat up, and apparently he's been running missions for Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad, and he's just kind of doing all kinds of missions where he's typically the only person who survives. A member of his team tries to run away with his book and sell it, and sure enough his head gets exploded. So Cold mentions that, you know, he's always lived by his own code, but now he has to live by somebody else's, and he doesn't really like that. He then goes back to Bel Rev, where he's got to deal with the guards, and they just kind of put him in the room, and then he goes out and does missions, and his soldiers die. He's typically one of the only people who comes back, and he's just sitting in his cell waiting to die, essentially. He's just running endless missions for Amanda Waller here. And then he mentions the comparatives about becoming his father, and he didn't want to do that, that he wanted to take care of his family and do, you know, what he was supposed to do. It's in this moment that a guard walks in and tells Cold that he's got to do another mission, and Cold is pissed off. He's like, I just got back from another mission, bro. I'm beat up, I'm battered, let me heal, then I'll go out and run Amanda Waller's missions. And the guard's like, no, you need to go out now or you're gonna die, we're gonna blow your head up. And Cold is just like, yo man, do it, just get it over with, blow my damn head up, and let's move on with this already. And he's like, just do it, because he's sick of running these missions for Waller. And in this moment, instead, the guard's head actually explodes, and then a hole in the wall is blasted open, and Cold is wondering what this is, and it's actually one of the Lex Luthor robots that he's been sending down to many people throughout DC Comics universe and making them an offer. And in this, he's making Cold an offer too. He's used technology that Cold has created to kind of make it snow throughout the area near Bel Rev, and he says that Cold and him have worked together several times throughout the years, and he needs Cold to dream bigger than he has in the past. And he says that he has an opportunity and that we were doing it all wrong. He says that and then Cold's like, I thought you died, and Lex is like, no, I've evolved. And he says, well, you look a little bit worse to me, and Lex Luthor then says, I've come with an offer to set you free, to give you freedom. That's just the beginning, and I know what your cold heart has always craved. So then Cold actually says that he's game for whatever Lex is up to under one condition, that the Rogues get the same deal, that he takes care of his family first, then they take care of the Flash. And that's where we end this huge book of The Flash number 75. Like I said, I like the conclusion of year one. I thought that was great, and now we're kind of given a reason for why we had that abrupt year one within it. That Steadfast was showing Flash the true past without the time manipulations, which is just a new retcon version of the Flash's origin, and pretty much changes everything because now Wally wasn't taken out of the timeline and Wallace was there, and that kind of changes the way that we see and view everything that happened from New 52 on and into Rebirth. So we're going to have to deal with that, or probably not, is what DC Comics is going to do. I love this issue. I love both of the stories. I love the year one story. I love the Rogue story. Howard Porter is one of my favorite artists all time, and he does an amazing job at the Flash, as always. I love that we're getting back into Commander Cold. I love that this ties in with the Offer, because then it kind of just attaches itself to the grander DC Comics lore, which is what Joshua Williamson was doing earlier when they were doing the Force Quest, because all those things were discussed in the Justice League originally, with Scott Snyder working with Joshua Williamson and James Tynion on this several crossing comic book story that's going on that's really great. So I really can't wait to look forward to what's going to happen. We know that we're going to deal with Zoom, we're going to deal with Godspeed, and we're going to deal with everything, and we're going to eventually set the Flash family free, like all of them, and I can't wait. As a Flash fan, I'm amazingly excited, and honestly, I lost a lot of interest in the Flash book after Flash War. I didn't like the Force Quest sagas, and I didn't originally know why we were really going into this year one again. I was like, why are we doing another Flash origin story? What's the point? But now I see the point, and I'm kind of happy that they did it, and there's got to be a reason that we kind of like we didn't lose direction, but I think that we were waiting for other book titles to drop, like the Wally West 6-part story, and let the other writers kind of write and get together so all the books and stories can play out at the same time, and so they can be more cohesive. Either way, this issue came out. I look forward to what's going to happen afterwards. I know this video was kind of all over the place, but I had fun talking about it and discussing it with you. This is more of a podcast than it is an explored and explained video, so I apologize if the editing is not quite what you're used to for those. I do work 2 jobs now, so life is a little more challenging at the moment. Less free time, rather, to kind of do these videos and work on these projects. But as always, you can find this video on my YouTube channel, which is now my name, because I am a transgendered woman, and I updated my name. I am Kelly One Shot. This is Kelly One Shot channel. You can find me there. Keith One Shot's in the past. That's my past, and I retcon that. And I'm Kelly One Shot now. And I welcome you to my channel, and I would love for you to subscribe, like the video if you're not already. If you want to leave my channel because I'm transgendered, that's on you. I hope that's not the case. But you can also find this video on comicbooklegions.com, where I also write reviews. There's a lot of other great contributors who do videos, who write articles, who write reviews. I typically write reviews there. I didn't have time to do that this week, so I decided to make this podcast to have something to talk about and discuss, and that is the Flash number 75, year one, and the Offer. So enjoy that. I hope you pick up this comic book, because it's definitely worth it. It's 37 pages, but like I said, you minus the 2 covers here, because I have a digital copy for review issues. So it's like 35 pages, but it's a solid book, and the story's great, and the artwork is tremendous. So pick it up. This is the Flash year one, the Flash number 75 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, with artwork by Howard Porter. I'm Kelly One Shot. Take care, have a great day, and goodbye!